The doors are closing. Train departing. Please hold on.
Welcome to a new episode of MAX101. Today we will be going over the announcements and how to get them set properly. Now in this video I'm going to be covering both types of announcement panels, but again, I get most of my information from MaxFacts blog. That's what I've done for years now. But unfortunately, I think a lot of this information is outdated because between the end of 2014 and sometime in 2016, they were remodeling the Type 1, 2, and 3 cars and just kind of updating them overall, and they added new electronic signs outside instead of mechanical roll signs. They changed the reader boards inside for the Type 2s and 3s, but they also changed the announcement panel and all that, so I think it goes by a different name now. So the information I'm going to tell you might be slightly out of date, but I'm going to do the best I can to have it up to date. Now, on the Type 1s, 2s, and 3s, the old system was known as it was pronounceable, and it stood for Automatic Passenger Announcement Control Unit. And on the Type 4s and 5s, it's known as the AACP, Automatic Announcement Control Panel, which is not really pronounceable. But throughout this video, just to avoid confusion, I'm just going to have it called the Announcement Panel. Now, I'll scan through the radio every once in a while, and I've also heard something called Wugen or something like that. I have no idea what that is, but I think it kind of connects with the announcement panel, so I'm not sure if that's just its new name or what, but I have heard that thrown around a couple times in the radio. So the trains themselves have automatic announcements. Once the driver has the panel set to the code that'll get you all the announcements, he doesn't have to do anything. You just set it right from the beginning to what you want, and then you let it do its thing. There is no GPS involved in getting the station announcements to work. You notice Washington Park is underground and it's still able to say that one just fine. So what it does is there's a counter for the wheels. So it'll count the number of wheel turns. So 1 wheel turn, 2 wheel turns, and so on. And so the announcement program has a set number of wheel turns between stations. So if you're stopped at a station, it's a set number of wheel turns to the next station when it'll begin to play the announcement after that number of wheel turns. So on the Type 1s, 2s, and 3s, when it plays the announcements overhead, the announcements are kind of stitched together. So it plays one recording, immediately plays the other, and plays the other. All the announcements are recorded individually. So there's a stop name for every station name, that's recorded. Then there's an announcement for doors to my left, doors to my right, or doors to my left and right. And then anything else it needs to say after that. Those are all individually recorded messages, and those all play one after the other. Now, after they're all done playing on the Type 1s through 3s, that's it. The announcement is done playing, it's not going to do anything now. But as soon as you press the door open button, the wheel counters will reset to 0, and it will be ready to go to count up to the next station. So then you close the doors and you proceed to the next station, and it'll count the number of wheel turns. And as soon as it says the station name, it'll stop counting the wheel turns because you're at the next station. But as soon as you press the door open button, the counter resets. So, let's throw an example out here. Throw it out? No, let's include the example. Let's not throw anything out. Let's say there was a station that was going to be closing just temporarily. Let's pick a station. Let's pick Northeast 60th Avenue. Okay, let's say 60th Avenue is being closed because of some reason, maintenance or something. Okay, so the trains there can just keep going right on past it. You don't have to stop at 60th Avenue. I've talked about call loops before and how sometimes you'll have to stop at a station and press the button to continue forward. Well, 60th Avenue does not have one, so you could literally just keep going straight off to 82nd Avenue. But you have to pay attention to your announcement panel because it'll say the announcement for Hollywood Transit Center, the stop before, and you'll be fine. But then it'll say Northeast 60th Avenue, doors to my left, right? Okay, but because you're not going to be opening the doors here, the announcements are not going to continue. So you're going to be up at 82nd Avenue now, and your signs are still going to be on 60th because you never opened the doors there. So it can get kind of a little bit weird. I don't know about these newer panels, but the old announcement panels had a skip button where you could skip the station. That way you didn't have to open the doors there. But the Type 4s and 5s have a solution for that. The system is basically continuous. It'll count the number of wheel turns from one station to the other, just like on the Type 1s, 2s, and 3s. And as soon as it plays the announcements, it's a little bit different. It'll play an announcement, then there's a break of silence, then it'll play the next announcement, then another break of silence, and then the next announcement. So they're all kind of spaced out a little bit, and that's how you know it's a different announcement panel, because it behaves very differently. But it's continuous. The wheel turns don't reset when you open the doors. They keep counting and counting and counting. So if 60th Avenue is closed, then these announcement panels are much easier to work with. It'll give you the stop announcement at Hollywood Transit Center. It'll give you the stop announcement at 60th Avenue, so 60th Avenue, doors to my left or whatever. And then, if you don't open the doors or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you proceed forward, the wheel turn number counter just keeps going and going, and it'll skip 60th Avenue and goes to 82nd Avenue automatically. Now, I might have to have someone go do this for me because I haven't been out there in a while to go see it, but when I ride the MAX Green Line, if I'm ever on a Type 4 or 5, it always seems like the announcements are off. And that's why. It's because I think it was programmed incorrectly. When you're on the west side of the river, it's fine. But as soon as, and this is going to Clackamas only, I never really had problems with it going the other way. As soon as you cross over the steel bridge and from Rose Quarter on, it says the announcements really early, so they didn't have enough wheel turns before the announcements. So by the time you actually get to the station, so many more wheel turns have passed that it's already on the next station. And throughout the rest of the Green Line, the whole thing is just messed up because it says the announcements too early, so by the time you get there, it's already switched on to the next station. Although I'm sure they've fixed that by now, because I've been on the Green Line a handful of times where it's doing that, and I don't remember it really doing that much recently, but I haven't been out there so long that I'd have to have somebody go do that for me and confirm it. Now, whatever you set on these announcement panels will also come up on your stop reader boards inside. So the trains have 8 reader boards, but on the Type 1s, there's only 4 reader boards. Now, every train, all trains in the system, have 4 external reader boards. 1 in the front window, 1 in the back window, and 2 in the middle. 1 on one side and 1 on the other. These signs are your destination. It tells you where you're going. Gresham, Clackamas, Expo Center, Milwaukee, whatever. There's 4 of those on every kind of train car. But on the Type 2s on, there are also 3 reader boards inside. 1 in the front, 1 in the back, and 1 in the middle. And the one in the middle displays signs out both ends. And those are all of those electronic signs are all set from your announcement panel. Now, if you set the announcement panel of anything in a Type 1, well, there's no reader boards inside the train, but it will still set the ones in your trailing Type 2 or 3 car, because every Type 1 must be connected with a Type 2 or Type 3 to make it wheelchair accessible. So, even though there are no stop reader boards that tell you what the next stop is, there are ones in your trailing Type 2 or 3 that the panel will set. Although I'm not really sure why they didn't just do it like kind of how the streetcar does, where on the signs that tell you it has the blue square and Gresham or something, if you're taking the blue line to Gresham, it'll have that blue square and it'll say Gresham, meaning it's the blue line and you're going to Gresham, that's your end destination. Same thing if you see a red square and Beaverton TC is a red line to the Beaverton Transit Center. But on the inside signs, it just says the same thing, Beaverton Transit Center or Hillsborough or whatever. I think what they should have done is those should also tell you what the next stop is, because the Type 1s have never had reader boards, have never had anything like that, and so when they finally retrofitted these electronic signs to tell you that it's going to Gresham or Hillsborough or whatever, I think they kind of missed an opportunity to make the internal signs tell you what the next stop is. But maybe they just didn't have that technology, even though I really think they did. Just seems kind of weird. It can be kind of confusing because if the red line's going to Beaverton Transit Center and you happen to glance at that sign, you might think that the next stop is Beaverton Transit Center because it says it. But no, that's your end destination. Now, on the Type 4s and 5s, if I understand correctly, it almost seems like you can set everything, you can set your announcements to do whatever, but you have to press a special button to actually get the program started. It's very easy to forget to do, and so sometimes you'll encounter where a driver will set everything up, everything will be fine, but as soon as you're ready to leave the station, the reader boards just don't come on. And it gives you the original doors closing announcement that was used up until 2014.
The doors are closing.
What's interesting too is that once the Type 4s and 5s hit the ends of the lines, or if they go out of service and there's no announcements or whatever, or if it's not set, like you didn't push the button, the reader boards will black out. So they just go blank. And in order for them to work again, you have to make sure that not only are the announcement panels set, but the moment that the driver presses the door close button, the reader boards should come on. So you have to make sure everything is set, and then the last thing you do to get the announcements to appear is press the close button.
The doors are closing. Train departing. Please hold on.
So now let's go over the announcements themselves, and I'm going to have a bonus episode tomorrow telling you exactly who does these announcements. But every once in a while, it seems like at least once per year since about 2016, they have a project that goes on that kind of disrupts the whole MAX system for a couple weeks. Every year they're doing these reliability projects where they are fixing up the old switches and signal equipment on the route and just kind of cleaning everything out and redoing whatever. There's a lot of stuff that they do. Anyway, they'll record special announcements for those, and so it might tell you that this is the final stop for the train and to please board shuttle buses to my right or whatever, because the area is not being served by trains. Now these special announcements for whatever get their own program in the trains, and so you'll set it to that whatever program to get the proper announcements to show up. Now, like, let's say Blue Line trains were only running from Hillsborough to the Rose Quarter Transit Center or something. The signs they may have programmed to say Gresham and then switch to Rose Quarter, and they just keep switching back and forth between those. Is just to ease confusion, because I think people kind of don't know the destinations that well. They just know, oh, I see the word Gresham, I'll board that train. And so if you have it say Gresham and then switch to Rose Quarter and keep switching back and forth, people will still board it. Now sometimes you might notice that the stops themselves that are being displayed and read out loud, you might notice that it's on the wrong stop. It's easy enough to do. You can easily hit the up or down button and have it on the wrong announcement. Or if you're at El Monica or Gateway or Beaverton, well, not really Beaverton Transit Center, but wherever they're switching drivers, if a driver is switching at El Monica, he's going to have to make sure that he sets the panel back to El Monica, because if he just puts in the program to get him to Hillsborough for the announcement, well, it's going to start at Cleveland Avenue, all the way at the end of the line in Gresham, even though we're at El Monica. So you have to make sure to set it properly. So that's easy enough to do, but what you can do is, there's a couple options. When the train is not moving, you can knock on the driver door and just let him know that, hey, your announcements are on the wrong stop. Or you can get out of the train and go up to the window the windows on the side of the train where the driver is, and you can stand out there and he'll open the window and ask you what's going on, and just say, the announcements are on the wrong stop. And he'll be like, okay, thank you. And sometimes it's not even obvious to the drivers that something has gone wrong. So why is this one of my longest videos to date on announcements? That, to my knowledge, is everything about the announcements and everything so far about how that works. So I will see you on the next one.
Beaverton Transit Center. Doors to my left and right. Always use crosswalks and look both ways when crossing tracks.
Puertas a mi izquierda y a mi derecha. Por favor, use siempre los cruces peatonales y mire hacia ambos lados antes de cruzar las vías.